Hello and welcome to your second module of generational leadership. This module is the foundation that the rest are going to be built on. It's all about what makes a generation. You're going to see all of my partners and me go through every single generation. We're going to talk about these things we talked about right here. And we're going to say, what made this generation the way they are? And when I talked about last module in that research where it's about, sometimes people argue that's about life stages and some of that, this is where you're going to dive in and see the research that really shows this is generational. This is what forms the generation. So let's dive in. Let's look into what makes a generation. So the first thing we need to get very clear is what is the definition of a generation. So through lots of the research that I presented in the last one, I've come up with one compiled definition of generation. And it says, a generation is a group of individuals passing through time together. And most importantly, they're being impacted by their surrounding culture. And this culture actually develops a common belief, attitudes, values, and experiences. As this generation passes through time together, that's what creates the shared idea of those values, the attitudes, beliefs, and how they view the world. It's not about the life stages. It's about that experience they're going through in that culture. And that's why we're seeing huge shifts as we move from generation to generation. Each one is passing through time with a different surrounding culture. So let's look at what are those 6 causes of generational differences. Like, what are the main ones as we lay out in the research? This actually comes from the West Chester University research, and it says there are 6 things that cause generational differences. And these are the 6 that we're going to dive into and talk a little bit about as we go through the different modules through this. So the first one is traumatic or formative events. Traumatic or formative events. Now, you'll see as you go through this, but there's tons of different events that have happened through history that are very formative to how this generation sees something. So when we think about maybe the older generation, right, they're looking at things like the GI Bill. That is formative to them. Or World War II. That's formative. And as you move, it might be the Challenger explosion. Right now it's some of the like Enron and some of the things that the corporations weren't being transparent. And there was ethics violations. And for us, maybe it's the LGBTQ rights. It's all of the movements, women's movements, slavery, civil rights. All of those are formative events that shape the way that a generation views their beliefs. The second one is dramatic shift in demographics. So what you will see is that the baby boomers were the largest generation. That's a huge shift in the way that demographic was. The other one is you can see today, the Gen Z, the youngest generation, is the first generation ever in which a majority are not white. It says that only 48% are white now. That's the first time that there's been an entire demographic shift. Number 3 is what we call privileged intervals. That's what West Chester University called it, privileged intervals. And that is a cycle of success or failure. So when you look at the older generation, the veterans, when they went through the Great Depression, that was a privileged interval of failure that they experienced that shaped the way they see the banking system, the government, the future. And then we see the Gen X's. The Gen X's raised in a time where their salaries and the cost of normal living changed significantly, and they were struggling to afford all of the things they wanted to afford on the salaries they were making. That's what made them a little more cynical. It's a little different. So the actual success and failure cycles are very important. Then we've got number 4, and that is collective memories. And my favorite example of this is Woodstock. Woodstock is a huge collective memory of that generation, and it sticks with where are they now? What is their attitude towards things? It is a complete shift in that. What is those collective memories? What is that sacred space you shared with your generation? You'll experience some of that as we look at music, movies, television shows. What were some of the pop culture like? The 5th one is the leaders or mentors that they followed. This one's powerful because what you'll see is we're gonna dive in each module and show you about what leaders were each generation following. But you're gonna see that a lot of their beliefs, the way that they like to be led, the way they lead, it's a lot of dictated off of what were those leaders that they watched, who were they looking up to. And the last one, number 6, is about change agents. This one is huge, and you can see it coming right now more than ever, is people who initiated change. And you'll see people like Martin Luther King Jr., Gandhi, right? Malcolm X. And so then nowadays, we're looking at the generation before, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, who were driving innovative change. Now you're looking for our generation, we're looking at change agents of people that are actually standing up and believing their rights. Right now, the Me Too movement is huge. Mark Zuckerberg came out with Facebook, and it changed the way that we saw things. It changed the way we saw success. There are huge shifts in the change agents we see. You can see that now in sports. All these sports are standing up for their beliefs. Those are things that the younger generations are watching. And those are the change agents that form each generation. So the research really dives in this Westchester University study, and a lot of the other research that we've gone through shows that there are huge shifts in generations based on the surrounding culture that they experience. And those are shaping those beliefs and values and attitudes and behaviors that they're carrying into the workforce. That's why, with a multi-generational organization, you're navigating lots of different values. You're navigating lots of different beliefs about work, about life, about what results are, all of that. And that's what we're going to dive into today. Stay tuned for these videos. Yes, sometimes there's a lot of information in them, and I understand that. And some of the other videos will be more fun. But dive in and just connect them. Wow, where were you when that experience happened? What did that leader mean to you? Or what was that pop culture like? What did you think about that movie? How did it shape you? And have a little bit of fun diving in and understanding, where did each generation come from and what formed them. Stay tuned. Look forward to having you in all the videos below. Check them out. Thank you very much. Get started.